Whenever you get this message, whenever you're viewing this, this is the moment. This is that moment. They're organizing all kinds of No Kings rallies across the country. It's up to you whether you want to participate, but know this thing. I want to ask this question. Which American city will ICE invade next? Yes, that's right. The federal government, the government of the United States, the current administration headed by President Donald Trump has decided that waging war on Americans is the war that he needs to fight. No, they're not looking for terrorists overseas because why should he when he accepted an airplane from a former terror nation that perpetrated 9/11? So why should he go look for terrorists overseas? Why should he go look for bad guys overseas who are ripping and raining and running through the earth? Why should he? Why should he go talk to Russia about starting a war in the Ukraine for no reason other than some old guy sat up one day and maybe his penis couldn't stand up or whatever? So he decided that that was a good day for him to go start a war on people. Why? Just why? Why should he do that? Instead, he has determined that the American people are the people who are the cause of terror. Can you imagine? Never in American history have we seen a president choosing to erect war and initiate war on Americans. I'm going to tell you something that is very disturbing. A few days ago, I saw a video filmed in New York by someone. It might have been a journalist, I think, at a ICE detention center. A woman had accompanied her family member to an immigration hearing, and he was detained. If I were you all, I don't know why you're going to immigration hearings anymore. Why should you go? Because as soon as you show up, they're detaining you, right? And there, you might say, but Harriet, if the people don't show up for the hearings, then if they stay at home, they're going to go and find them. Well, it's up to you. But if you know they're going to take you there, can you just imagine the terror that people feel on their way to a detention hearing, knowing that they're not going to return home to their families, knowing that they may never see the people whom they love again? Can you imagine the terror that children who have been orphaned, left orphaned because their parents were dragged off like animals and placed in those kind of cargo like containers that are that carry goods and services, but placed in there like they're not human? Can you imagine the terror that they feel? What is happening to those children who have been left orphaned, who have no parents? They're just thrown into the foster care system to be exploited. So we have hit a new low, right? It's called sex trafficking. It's called human sex trafficking. I'm not talking about human smuggling, which is a different thing where people voluntarily pay someone to take them somewhere else. That's human smuggling. That's a choice someone makes. I'm talking about human trafficking. So now we're wondering which American city will ICE evade next. So far, they've done it. They're kind of doing it in New York on the slide. They're just not announcing that's what they're doing, but they're certainly showing up at immigration centers in New York. They've done Portland. They have done New LA. They're in Chicago, going into a Walgreens pharmacy. I think the owners of businesses should start putting up notices that ICE is not welcome. And frankly, if it is my business and my name is on that lease, you can't come on my property. You can't come on my property if I tell you not to. If you come over there, anything happens to you, it's up to you. It's up to you to go figure that out. I think businesses need to step up to the plate and say, no, if someone is coming in here and they are a legitimate member of the public who are coming to purchase my goods and services, you can't come in and drag them through. I think that Walgreens in Chicago yesterday that we all watched where this young black kid was placed by ICE and everyone is screaming that he's a citizen. And the ICE people, the ICE agents who are not really ICE agents, let's be real. Those are not government agents. Government agents don't look like that. Come on. We know the government. We know how Big G works. That's not how the government works. That's not how they look. Those are people who have been deputized and federalized in the heat of the moment to go and carry out wicked people extraction. That's what I call it. It's called trafficking. Those people have been appointed and federalized to go commit acts of human trafficking. And I guarantee you, when this is all over, Some people are going to pay the price for that. Some people are going to be called up, and we're all going to find out who did you human traffic people to, because that's what that is. They're being paid a sum. It's just like how the smugglers work. It's the same thing. They're being paid a sum to capture people and to go pick up people. I saw one yesterday on social media, and I saw a young black man at a Walgreens in Chicago. Even though people around him were screaming that he's an American citizen, the ICE agent was booing people off. Baby, if I were not live on this app right now, when I tell you, when I tell you, I don't even want to witness something like that, because I cannot guarantee you that I would still be sitting here. I'm probably that person whom they would kill, Tarated. I'm probably that person whom they would shoot. They probably would, because there's no way that I am going to sit there. I don't know why my camera is acting funny. I'm going to just, right? There is no way that I could perhaps sit and watch people being taken, especially when other people are saying they're American citizens. So you're picking up American citizens, Mr. President. What's up? So which city is next? Which city are you going to invade next? Because I read on in one of these reports that you said you're going to Memphis next. So you have a hit list of cities that you want to invade. Can I just ask you a question? Aren't you too busy as the president and commander in chief to be running this country than to go wage war on your own country? I'm going to ask you this. Are you American? You hate this country, don't you? You hate this country. You hate Americans. You, you're not racist, Mr. President. You're not. So come off it. Just stop practicing this foolishness. You're not really racist, because we all know before you ran for president, you used to hang out with every black entertainer there was. You used to hang out with all of them. You used to hang out with all the baseball players, all the football players, all the NBA players, all the ones who sing and act. You hung out with all of them. So you are not racist, Mr. President. You are doing this because you want to stay in power, because you think MAGA likes it. You're all going to pay the price for this, aren't you? You all ready for this? Let me tell you how you're going to pay the price. Famine. A famine is coming because America forgot its role, because the president became so consumed with seeking revenge on his enemies, weaponizing the military, weaponizing the economy, weaponizing the Department of Justice against whom he perceives as his enemies. By the way, his enemies are people who went after him legitimately for things that he did wrong. He doesn't think he should be held accountable. So he's so busy doing that and sending 20 billion. I want to curse so bad. Sending 20 billion of Americans' hard-earned money to Argentina? What has Argentina ever contributed to America's bottom line? Sending $20 billion, but you won't bail out education. You won't bail out American citizens. You won't pay Social Security on time. So seniors who worked and put their taxes into the system can get their Social Security, but you're busy bailing out Argentina. You're giving Argentina $20 billion. How about you give Mississippi $1 billion? $20 billion divided evenly. That's 20 states that you could bail out. I could give you a list. Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, Detroit, Michigan, all cities, all states. Why don't you do that? You could even send some money over to Maryland. You know what each state should start doing? I said this a couple days ago. You know what each state should start doing? Guess. Each state should start withholding federal income tax. I'd say we need this money to run our states, because when we pay it to the federal government uses it to bail out countries, but not bailing out American cities and towns and American farmers and American workers, but you're using it to bail out Argentina. So I'm going to look up real quick. I have my iPad open right here. Does Argentina participate in extraditions? Maybe that's why you're giving $20 billion out to Argentinians. It has to be. It has to be that you're looking to the future, knowing that something bad is going to come. And according to AI, wait for it, Argentina participates in extraditions with many countries. So why are you bailing out Argentina, right? And they do participate with extraditions involving the United States. So what is the benefit? This is what I'm trying to say. So there's a famine coming. You know why there's a famine coming? Because ICE agents picked up people who were working in the fields, who worked in the meat packing plants, right? And they picked up people who worked for American farmers. Very smart decision to all of you who are sitting in Washington supping on wine and drinking milk. How long do you think you're going to be able to drink milk from Wisconsin and eat Wisconsin cheese? And eat potatoes from Michigan and cherries from my state, Michigan. How much longer? Idaho potatoes and Iowa potatoes. Have you all been into the grocery stores lately? Have you seen how the potatoes coming out of Iowa and Idaho, they're so small, and the onions coming from Georgia? Remember those sweet Vidalia onions we like from Georgia? They're tiny now. They're not staying in the fields long enough because there's no one working the fields. You know what the president is worried about? Instead of him worrying about all of these, you know what he's worried about? His beach body. He's worried about how he will look if he goes to Argentina on a visit and goes on a beach because he can't wear a bathing suit because he can't look like Biden. You are worried about your beach body when Americans are worried about feeding their bodies. You are worried about your beach body and how thin Biden's legs look and how he's slender instead of worrying about Americans about to starve because we're about to enter into a famine. Crops are rotting in the fields. And all of you MAGA, you know what you're worried about? You're all descendants of slave masters. So let us not forget that all of you or most of you are descendants of slave masters, people who owned slaves. So you really don't see any difference between yourselves today and what your ancestors did. In fact, you're clapping them. You're all broke, busted, and disgusted, but think you're some slave masters. Who are you going to enslave? Yourself? Because let me tell you something. I'm not my ancestors. So you may want to be like your ancestors who, frankly, were some evil people, right? Try it today. Try it today. It's a different world. Do you know? Can I just be honest with you? As someone who has studied history, I studied history in high school. I also studied history in college. Yeah. I have a degree in psychology. Can I just ask you something? Can I educate you? Can I just tell you something? Just pretend we're having a fireside chat. Can I tell you something? You know why slavery failed? Slavery failed because they had no exit strategy. Slavery as a system of a financial tool and an economic policy by the South failed because they had no exit strategy. They never planned for what would happen when they could no longer enslave people because around the world, coming from England and in Europe, slavery had been ruled wrong and had been ruled illegal. So it was only a matter of time before it landed on these shores. It took a while. It took about a century before it started happening here. But slavery became illegal because people began to say there were moral people who lived at the time, surprisingly, said that it was illegal to human traffic people and take them somewhere else and force them to work. Which brings the next question. All these people who are being detained right now and are being dropped off in other countries without legitimacy in those countries, they're about to be enslaved. So that's what you think is a winning thing? So slavery failed as a policy because it had no end. They had no plans for it to get out. Just like right now, these stupid policies that you're seeing them do, they have no exit because none of their exits are actually workable and are thought out and that seemingly can work. So the Civil War, the Confederacy, shall we say, the Confederacy was 4 years long. It failed because they had no exit strategy. They had no plan forward. And you are telling me that that is what you're basing your whole life on, your whole ideology on, and think it's going to work 200 years later? Because it didn't work the first time. So you think 200 years later it's going to work? Watch how it's going to collapse right around you. So the question is the ICE agents who are rounding up the people who are actually working in the meatpacking plants in Nebraska, Idaho, Iowa, those states that are in the interior of the country where our breadbasket is. Those states make the food and so on. Those interior states. When you look at them, I'm smiling because I love y'all. I love them too. Right? Right? I like going in the grocery store and seeing my Idaho and Iowa potatoes. I just love seeing it, right? So those interior states, those states that you heavily use labor from undocumented workers, know who is now doing the meats, who is killing the cows, who is making the blood drain out of it, who is doing all that stuff, who is packing the meats, who is doing the sausages, who is packing up and crating the fruits and vegetables so they can be shipped off so you and I can have them to eat, distributing them across the country. You smart people who are descendants of slave masters, you young Republicans, old Republicans, mid Republicans, that's what you call yourselves. You're so smart. Did you think this through? Because you're sending ICE to invade cities where people work. And by the way, just so we're all clear on this idea, these folks are so bad. You think that undocumented workers, they're so bad, right? But guess what? You picked them up from work. How dumb can you be? If they're so bad, they're working. Isn't that what you are all saying, that everybody should work? And the very hallmark of being a Republican and an American is that you work? Well, they were at work when you picked them up, dumbass. They were working. You didn't pick them up while they were partying and so on. And if these people are criminals, why didn't you take the people out of the jails? They're criminals in jails and prisons, right? Uh-huh. If, as you say, undocumented people are criminals, why didn't you go to the jails where the criminals are and deport those? Did you do that or did I miss that? Did I miss that? Anyone can tell me? Did I miss it? I must have missed it. Because I don't recall seeing ICE agents outside of jails dragging people who are imprisoned out. I don't recall seeing that. What I do recall seeing is you showing up at construction sites and showing up at places where people work in restaurants and so on and dragging hardworking people out. And you think we're not angry? Oh, you think we're just going to sit here and watch this parade and charade continue? You really think so? Wow, look at you. Just look at you all. So you all think that you like to say that a hallmark is that you're hardworking Americans. These folks were hardworking. I know because I'm a descendant of them. Yes, they came here and worked their fingers to the bone and paid their taxes. Yeah, before mom passed, mom was earning her Social Security and she voted. She made sure that we all made sure that we understood the price that was paid, so we had to vote. They made sure of that. They did not just sit down. So ICE agents are now picking up American citizens while crops are rotting in the fields. This is the biggest joke ever. People around the world are laughing at us. Look how we are imploding and destroying ourselves. A very astute man once said that the only way America was going to devolve was America would implode on itself. I believe it was I think it might have been Putin who said that. And isn't it working? And while the media continues to flatter the president's ego, while the media flatters his bloated ego and ask him, and frankly, the media, I'm not talking about the independent media. I'm talking about the mainstream media, the Fox News, the CBS, the CBC, the ABC, and the NBC, those people who are paying him money and who are just not reporting on what is going on. What gives? I read somewhere yesterday that the Pentagon said that they want to fact check, and they want to check what reporters are reporting about what they say. So anybody who doesn't want to comply with it can leave. Well, 100 reporters said, okay, you're not gonna fact check this. We're gonna report it as we get it. So they left. Yes, this time has come. You know what you're all trying to do? I'm going to borrow a term that millennials and Gen Z use, cosplay. You're all cosplaying authoritarianism and it's not looking good. It looks like a charade and it looks like a puppet show. It looks like a joke. That's what you're all doing. You're cosplaying authoritarianism and it can't fit because it just doesn't fit. And in the meantime, you have Peter Thiel, one of the richest immigrants in America. He's an immigrant. We're going to get back to that. Who's running around talking about the Antichrist and how people are going to take our money away. You know what he's talking about? Peter Thiel comes from Germany. That tells you everything about his indoctrination and what he really thinks. But what they're really talking about is Peter Thiel and people like Elon Musk believe in a class system. America doesn't do well with a class dividing system. We're kind of more egalitarian than that. So we tend to do things like, well, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which is a wrong ideology. But if you can make it, you are great. These people want an enforced class system where because they were all poor like shits. They were all poor like shits. Now that they've made money, suddenly they want to be considered the aristocracy and they want that. Are you dumb? When I tell you that you MAGA folks, I actually feel sorry for you because none of you are going to make it into their class system when they effect it. So you have this crazed man. They've made so much money. The Bible is right. A fool and his money shall soon part, for real, because they're crazy. They're so enraging. They're so crazy that they can't even make sense. So ICE is invading American cities. Nothing new. So which city is next? Which city is next? All of you, all of us, you know what we should start doing? We should all start following Portland's lead and start dressing up like frogs. They eat the frogs, they eat the dogs, they eat the cats. That's what we should all start doing. Start dressing up like frogs, start dressing up like inflatable characters. You know what we should do? Dress up like Mickey Mouse, because even they bow down to him. It's crazy. I can't believe that we're at this day and time when we actually are doing stuff like this. I can't believe it either. I don't understand how we got here in the first place. I don't understand how we allowed ourselves to be caught up in this. Why are we going to, Mr. President, you're going to send ICE agents into the fields and into the meat packing plants because they don't seem to, that you can federalize them to go do that since you can federalize them to pick up American citizens because you're being non-discriminatory now. So who next? Which city you coming in for? Because you know I live in Detroit. You coming here next? Is me you coming for next? Is it me? Is it people like me you want to come for, Mr. President? When you were sitting on your golden toilet in New York and you were hanging out with people and getting protection from the gangs of New York and getting protection from all the people who live in you didn't think that at some point this day was going to come? So you want to come looking for me? Is that what it is? You're coming after everybody who does not flatter your ego? Bro, go lose some weight. Go take one of them GLP-1 stuff if you want a beach body. Why are we worried about a president and his beach body? We don't even want to know you have a body. We want to know what kind of policies you're effecting. We don't want to know you're so basic that you're worried about how you look, Mr. President. Do you know who your predecessors are? I'm not talking about the recent ones like Biden, Obama, Clinton, and George W. Those men, I see now, they're in a league of their own. They were very confident men. You can't match them. But I want to take you back to a president who did not care about his own disabilities, who was more concerned about the people of his country, who were more concerned about America and America's survivability in a changing landscape, political landscape that Europe had become. His name is FDR, one of the greatest American presidents of all time. FDR sat in a wheelchair and the American people didn't know because the media had an agreement that they would not show his disability so that people would not become, concerned. Do you think you could ever walk 2 miles in FDR's shoes. He sat in a wheelchair, Mr. Donald. Yeah, that's who you are, Donald. You remember when we used to call you that? The Donald. You know, we all used to like you, right? We used to admire you. We thought you were the ultimate American. You were the symbol of American capitalism, swashbuckling, did not care about you had the banks by the balls and held them up and filed for bankruptcy and returned from bankruptcy to prosper. We really liked you. We admired you. We thought you were one of those American icons. And then you had to ruin it by becoming president, and the first thing out of your mouth was racism. Wrong move. Then you didn't stop there. No, you're going after innocent people. Then you're going after your enemies. I'm beginning to wonder if you think about the future. Do you think about the legacy that your grandchildren will have? I'm not talking about your children because they're a joke. They're just rich, privileged kids who, like all rich, privileged kids, you know how they say the first generation makes the money, the second generation spends the money, and the third generation sells it? Well, that's who your kids are. Well, what about your grandkids? Do you think one of them someday will look and say, my grandfather stood for something? Because I know who can say that. You know who can say that? Bill Clinton's grandchildren. Not a good example. But Obama's grandchildren can say that. You know who else? Biden's grandchildren. They can sit back and say, my grandfather stood for something. Even Clinton, with all his faults, the only fault he had was Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office. Look what you people are doing right now. You have scandals with the vice president who wrote in his own book, in his own memoir, that he had sex on a couch. And we're all supposed to sit here and say, oh my God, we have to explain to our children and our nieces and nephews what that means, Mr. President. Because you're so caught up with power, and the power has corrupted you. Your pursuit of power has corrupted you so badly that you now are more concerned about how you look in a pair of shorts on the beach instead of worrying about the famine that we're about to face, that we have a climate crisis because here in Michigan, we can't even have a fall season because all summer long we had a drought in Michigan surrounded by the Great Lakes. So the farmers who are supposed to go to harvest in a few weeks, November is harvest time, Mr. President. I live in a farming state because Americans were farmers once upon a time. But thanks to you and your best buddy, Elon Musk, who is from South Africa, a rich immigrant, thanks to him, he cut off all the aid to America's farmers. So now we have no farmers and no food. Do you have a contingency plan to buy food for us or to reinvigorate the farming economy? Or better yet, you're still going to compare your beach body to that of Biden. By the way, when Biden was on the beach, he had on shorts and a shirt because he was a president. He was fully clothed. He has some dignity about him. You're comparing yourself to a man fighting for his life and was still running the country and wouldn't even tell us that he was sick because he did not want us to have any problems. You cannot compare, Donald. You cannot compare to none of these people. Even Bill Clinton at his weakest moment was a much better person and a much better president than you. You are weak, Donald. And the weakness is evidenced by the fact that you are sending your own military, your own troops into your own country just because they disagreed with you, just because they're not holding up a picture of the bloated yam, just because people are not bowing down at the statue of you. Seriously? That's where we are? So for all you young Republicans who like to say, well, I don't believe in big government, you sure got some big government. You got exactly what you wanted. Because big government is now dictating how American companies should run. Yes, suing lawyers. Lawyers who prosecuted, who wrote briefs to represent people, burning judges' houses down. So can I just ask a question? Are you going to send ICE agents into the fields? And which American city is next? My eyes are itching me. I hope it's not the city I live in, but if it is, I don't know what to say to you. Okay, because people are fed up. We're beyond fed up. We're angry. We're more than angry because we're watching everything fall apart that doesn't have to. And the traditional media, your friends have bought them all out. So now all they will show are flattering images of you. You're an old man. Go sit down. Don't you have golf courses to go sit on? Somebody take him for a couple rounds of golf, for the love of God, and get him out of the White House because this is crazy. That something has to give here. Meanwhile, you have Peter Thiel and his husband running roughshod behind J.D. Vance, right? And declaring that there is an antichrist coming. Look at Peter Thiel running. The antichrist is coming, holding his husband's hands. Seriously, that's an image I want you Christian oligarchs to think about. While you're over here praising people who spoke violence, political and social violence against parts of the country, I want to address you. That's another story for another time when I'll go after you Christian oligarchs. You support people who actually want violence, political violence. You actually support those people and call yourselves Christians. You're hypocrites and liars, and the truth is not in you. And you know that I'm speaking the truth. And I'm not going to apologize sometimes for my foul mouth because I am angry. And I'm angry at the state of events. I'm angry at how things have fallen apart and that the guardrails that are supposed to hold it up, like the Supreme Court, continues to be bought out, continues to refuse to do their jobs. Y'all have no balls. You don't stand up to anything. Martin Luther King said, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. None of you have balls to stand up and say, no, this is where the buck ends. No, it's not going to happen. There was a president who actually said that the buck stops here. Where is this going to stop? I think it was Lyndon B. Johnson who said that. Where is the buck stopping, Mr. Donald? Donald, you made a name for yourself as became a reality show host. I always thought that was sort of beneath you because you were this icon of an American businessman. And when I say iconic, I mean it's the way you approached it, your attitude and your delivery. I think the people who voted for you thought you would bring that same attitude and delivery. Instead, you're just going through it and slashing everything. What about Social Security? You had your best buddy, Elon Musk, who is calling Social Security a big Ponzi scheme. Elon, go sit down in South Africa on your emerald mines, will you? Go sit down. You want to go back there? Because you too came across the border illegally from Canada. So what's your deal? So this is about money, isn't it? Have I made the case to you? Do you see this now? This is about money. Peter Thiel came here with his parents legally. They sought to come here. Elon Musk came across the border from Canada illegally, saying he was going to school when he really wasn't. He was just coming here because he said Canada did not match his expectations or what he wanted to do. So now that he's here and he has risen to prominence, because you all MAGA people don't evaluate people and you don't question people, you just look at the color of their skin and say, oh, they're good, let them in. hmm So now that he has arisen to prominence, what he says is Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. The Social Security that you paid your taxes into, that the government says we all have to pay into Social Security, right? Unless you are earning a certain amount, then you don't pay as much as you are earning, right? I think the maximum anyone can pay is like $2,500 in taxes, right? So even that is equitable and leveled, right? It's capped at a certain amount. They need to remove that cap. So now you have Elon Musk, an immigrant, saying, oh, Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. No shit, Sherlock. Seriously. No shit. MAGA, hi. Young Republicans, hello. That's who you voted for. How you like them apples? I'm smiling at you because this is no joke. You all have a plan. for the crops rotting in the fields. How many of you are you young Republicans so busy talking about racism and shit? Have you all mustered yourselves up and gone into the farms in Minneapolis, in Minnesota? Have you all done that? Have you gone around the farms outside of the Twin Cities? Have you all gone in to help the farmers out in Wisconsin? Hmm? What about those in Idaho and Iowa, Montana, Wyoming, North and South Dakota? Huh? Some of those in Missouri and Kansas. Have you all gone to the breadbasket and decide to help the farms? Have you? Have you gone to milk the cows? Have you gone out there to help the farmers in Michigan? Have you? In Illinois, in Ohio, have you gone to help the farmers, young Republicans, but you're busy running your crusty lips about people who are about racism? What do you know about racism? Descendants of slave masters. Some of you all. Yes, you are. Admit it. That's what is, we're in I dare say that as a prophet, I dare say this, and I'm going to say this. I feel like we're in a season when we're washing out and we're confronted by our doctrines. Yeah? And we're confronted by the things that are not good about us, and we have to wipe the slate clean in order to move forward. So there, in one of my next lives, I'm probably going to have to address that fact, that what are the things that we're going to have to change for God to have mercy on us? Because let me tell you something right now, He's looking down here on us. We picked up people and children. Our ancestors went to Europe to save people from that very thing. And now you, the descendants of those ancestors, are doing it. And call yourselves, have the nerve, the crusted, dusty nerve to call people names? Are you serious? While the crops are rotting in the fields? And as for you, ICE agents, I know many of you came from disparate backgrounds, and I know you have reason to be angry. I see that. You're angry that your whiteness did not save you. You're angry that the factories and towns where you come from and that your ancestors and grandparents retired through, that they don't exist anymore. You're angry that big business, big industry took closed factories for no other reason than they wanted to make more money and rode off into the sunset on their jets and their Escalades. I agree with you. I'm with you on that. But you're going about it the wrong way. The people whom you're locking up and arresting, they're not the people. So when they have run out of people for you to go lock up and arrest, and they're going to stop it because pressure is going to mount on them to stop it, it's going to stop. Trust and belief it's going to stop. What are you going to do? Which industry are you going to go back to work? Because you still have no skills. You don't have any jobs and you have no personality. You can't even smile at people. If you were nice looking and smiling at people, I guarantee you some of those ladies would say, "Oh, take me with you." Where are you taking me to? You have nothing. And what's going to happen, more importantly, that was just a side joke. But what's going to happen? They're laughing at me back here. Right. I hope nobody can hear you all laugh at me. But what's going to happen? What seriously is going to happen when this is all done? And the facial recognition software can take your mask off and unmask you. What's going to happen to you and your family? You have life insurance for that? You have life insurance to pay for all the legal fees when they start. They're going to cause it. Yes. They're going to charge you for crimes against humanity. ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they are going to charge you for crimes against humanity and for human trafficking. If you don't believe me, go read the United States Code on what constitutes human trafficking. They're going to charge you for it. It's going to be massive. Do you have money set aside for your legal fees? You cannot, just like you, don't make the mistake your ancestors did. The reason slavery did not survive as an ideology and as an economic plan was that there was no exit strategy. The ancestors never looked beyond the point that at some point they would not be able to travel 5,000 miles across the sea to go human traffic people and capture people, just like you're doing now. Pay people and scouts to go look for people. That's what you're doing, right? You're doing the same thing that they did. You knew how to do it because your ancestors talked about how they did it. And pay people to pick up people and travel 6,000 miles across the sea, a journey that took 6 to 9 months, to come and sell them on an auction block to make money. After a while, it became clear that that was not an effective strategy. So slavery failed. That's why slavery failed. You could no longer contain people and have hundreds of people on a plantation and just have, 4 or 5 of you as overseers overseeing 200-300 people. You couldn't even feed them properly, because how could you feed 200 to 300 people from a working plantation when you had things like climate to contend with? So slavery as an ideology failed. Then the Confederacy came up with this idea that, oh, we're going to defend our way of life. It's the same thing you're doing now. You're still saying you're defending your way of life. But the problem is you have the wrong enemy in mind. The enemy is not without. The enemy is within. If you look within yourselves, you have to ask yourself, why am I cruel and wicked to people who have not hurt me? To people who are just working to earn a living just like you are. The real enemy here is the billionaires. The real enemy is the government that is weaponizing the economy against farmers like you and against your ancestors and against businesses, imposing tariffs on businesses they don't like and business owners they don't like, who now have to go into mass layoffs as we roll into Christmas. You think it's bad now? Wait until next year, if we make it through the night. You are the problem. The enemy is within. The enemy is not in Memphis, Detroit, Baltimore, Philadelphia, LA, New York, any Oregon, Portland, Wyoming, Idaho, because eventually you're going to turn on southern cities. The enemy is not in Atlanta. The enemy is not in Miami. It's not in Orlando. The enemy is not in Jacksonville. The enemy is not anywhere but within you, walking around inside your head. I've told you before that the rest of us had to learn to retool. We had to learn to adapt to the changing economy. Just so you know, the economy changed. We no longer are an economy made up of manufacturing. Some very selfish people and self-centered people who were extremely wealthy decided that the economy needed to be made up of services. So it's either healthcare or it's financial. That's why all this AI thing is proliferating. The tech bros are having the wildest time. Tech bros should not be running anything but technology because they don't have the sense to think things through. They suffer from panic attacks, and in panic attacks make panic decisions that have reverberations throughout. So they shouldn't be running anything. Someone needs to be in charge of them. Let me just put that out there, okay? So the economy is sucking and will continue to suck because at the core, if we don't make something the rest of the world buys, then we're not really surviving. Just so you know. So we stop making things that survive. And I agree with you. I see your point of view. Small towns in West Virginia and Southern Virginia, small towns in Kansas and so on, suffering. I agree with you. I'm with you. But the problem is not Black people. The problem is not Hispanic people. The problem are the billionaires whom you worship. You worship billionaires who are continue to make conscious decisions that continue to rob you of the right to exist. So again, are you still going to continue to carry out those orders where they pay you short term? Because the long term look is that this democracy will survive. The long term look is that these things, we went through a civil war 165 years ago. We survived. We will survive again. So the long-term look is that you're going to be tried for crimes against humanity. You're going to be tried for human trafficking. And guess what? Those billionaires who paid you have the receipts. They're going to hand over the list, just like they're giving you lists right now of people who are waiting on an immigration hearing. They are going to do what? They're going to be handed lists with your name, your address, where you live, which mountaintop you were hiding out in, which cave they found you in. They're going to give all that information and you will be tried just like the Nuremberg trials. you're going to be tried for crimes against humanity. And trust and believe they will find you. Trust and believe they will unmask you. When it suits those very same billionaires, they will unmask you and give you up like you are nothing. Just like you are treating people like they're nothing now, it's the same treatment you're going to get. So that's for you, all ICE agents who are planning to invade American cities, because they have convinced you. Because the only way you can make money, you're doing the same thing your ancestors did. You know what your ancestors did? They sent scouts into Africa to go find people whom they could capture and pull up people and pick up people, screaming and crying and tie them up because you thought that made you powerful. That's what your ancestors thought. You're doing the same thing again. Except this time, you're going to be tried for it in a court of law. That's my story. My name is Harriet Cammock. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. See you next time. Bye.